Hello, dear viewer and listener and people doing neither. We are Bergkamp Wonderland, and this week we are mostly a podcast of old men living on their own with their cat and playing too much time on their computer games. It's sad. This is what we ended up doing. This is how our lives have ended. We are surrounded by felines, not females. Oh, John Welsh, you have it so perfectly done. Right, I'm going to shut up and get on with it. With me tonight is the Right Reverend Raj Patel. I was trying to think of a clever, fun middle name for you there, Raj, and I thought I better not because you might put some kind of hex on me.
I'm just here tonight to give the last rites to the football club that we all love. But listen, thank you very much for sending me that Ferrero Rocher link. £10 for 42 pieces. I bought 2 trays.
So did I.
So tonight I'll be heading towards type 1 diabetes, everyone. Join me.
How have you been? What have you been up to lately?
Well, since last time?
Nothing.
We're all locked down, aren't we?
You're right.
So
last time
I've read loads of books. I watched Tenet last night, which was very good.
Did you get it first time?
Sorry?
Did you understand it first time? Because a lot of people didn't understand how time works.
It's very hard, isn't it? It's very tough. It's typical Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
It took me 3 times to watch it to understand Interstellar. So I'll probably have to watch it again in about 2 or 3 weeks' time anyway. So, yeah, how are you, Danny?
I am very good. I have Sean was home for a day to put up the decorations, and she's gone back, and she's back on Monday, and she's back on the 21st, and then she goes back on the 5th of January. So I might well be in prison for murder sometime about the 3rd of January.
Well, it looks like they're going to cancel Christmas anyway, so...
Oh, it's okay for us. It's just me. She gets a test before she comes back, and me and her mum don't have people come round, and my mum's coming over, and that's it. So do you get the new Football Manager? You said last time you'd done 400 hours.
I've got the new Football Manager. I am with Brentford in the Championship. Still learning the game a lot. There's a few different bits this year, but not doing too bad. I think I was about 8th last time I played it.
Lovely. Right. Also joining us tonight is Kris. Kris, could you tell that I winged the opening to that and I had no idea what the next word was going to be once the first one had left my mouth?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Can't lie.
How are you, people?
Well, I'm all right. I'm obviously, in light of recent events, not the best. But I will say one thing. I'm slightly perturbed that I wasn't informed of this Ferrero Rocher deal, I have to say. That's disappointing. I felt
£10.
I'll send it to you. Don't worry, Kris. I'll send it to you.
Please do, because they are the elite of chocolatey goodness this time of year. So if diabetes is on the agenda, I'll take that over what we're watching in North London at the moment. So
I think you should go. I think you should go for diabetes because then you'll get the vaccination quite quickly.
That's also true. See, small wins.
It's still £10 on Amazon, Kris. It's 42 Ferrero Rochers. One of mine turned up. It's all greasy underneath. But it's but if you want to get the 30 of them, it's 45p more. That's the kind of bargain. It should be 15 quid, I think, or 14.90. So still available, Kris.
Sounds like a plan to me.
What have you been up to? I see that you did a French podcast yesterday. How did that go? Was it all everyone on there crying their eyes out because Neymar has now got no legs?
No, actually, I was the lone voice defending him, weirdly. But no, it's good. It's good. We talked about the weekend's games as usual and had a little bit of a chat about Gerard Houllier and bits and bobs. So, it was all good. And other than that, I have done literally nothing. Your intro was quite apt, just gaming, eating, and that's about it. I still can't run, so,
Tell me about it.
Question. I've got a question, Kris, straight away. Actually, Gerard Houllier is one of the few managers that probably had a lot of respect given to him by opposing fans as well. Yeah, he was that kind of person, wasn't he?
Yeah, the tributes that came out, particularly from the ex-Liverpool players. I think Chris Kirkland's was very good. Steven Gerrard's was very good. He was a very liked manager, but he was a very liked personality in the game. And
but by the fans as well.
Oh God, yeah.
By other fans, not just Liverpool fans, but
he was never a manager that would Mourinho it. He was never about sort of shithousery and making controversy for no apparent reason. He would always talk about his club and only his club, and he did a lot for the French game in terms of the technical side. Obviously, Arsene did a lot over here, but Houllier was quite a big part of that, and he's very well respected in France as well. So the only downside is he was unfortunately the manager in charge when they didn't qualify for the '94 World Cup. So that's kind of the blot on his copybook. But yeah, respect wise, he was very highly thought of. So
he was amassing quite a lot of trophies in his time at Liverpool, and if he hadn't had his heart problems, he would probably have got the Premier League in a couple of seasons. So it was a shame that his illnesses, he went on to Villa after that, didn't he? And he just quit then because of his heart problems and stuff. So it's very sad that he didn't kind of get his full. He didn't do his full potential in the UK.
No, agreed.
Done a lot more, but yeah, I mean, I always liked him. He was very kind of. He was just a regular manager who spoke very well after the games and stuff like that. So,
he was that generation, though, wasn't he? Much like the Crystal Palace manager, Roy Hodgson, that kind of Wenger, that generation of people who didn't resort to shouting and screaming to get their point across, and they just kind of fathered them. No, kind of mothered them.
Very sad. Yeah, arm round a player in the dressing room rather than shouting and hollering. And the quote I liked most with Kirkland was what he said, that when he gave team talks, when he walked into the room, all the players fell silent and just waited and listened, which I don't think you would get in many managers nowadays. Like even the most calm, sort of relaxed managers, I think, still probably lose their rag from time to time. But with him, he said every time he would come in, much like Arsenal, I suppose, just come in quietly, give his instructions, and then leave. That would be it. So, yeah, I thought that was quite interesting.
I don't think our players are going silent at half-time when the manager walks in.
I don't think they are either.
Absolutely guarantee you that.
What a lovely transition that is. Where do we begin, Danny? Would you like me to...
you said it was your idea to get this for like a couple of weeks ago we had Carl. I said to Carl, right, do you want to host it? Who do you want on? And then a couple of weeks before that we had Josh, and Josh said... I said, who do you want on? And you've been saying for quite a while that you'd like to do one like the old days with Raj and me. I'm quite happy that you said you wanted me on. That was nice. I was prepared to sit here and press the buttons, and we thought, let's go full old school and not even do it live. So we can just chat like we used to. There's no interaction.
Pub chat. I've got 84 Ferrero Rochers. I'm sorted.
Have you got an emergency number in case you dip into a sugar coma, Raj?
No, I've got 10 cc's of insulin waiting in a syringe at the moment as well. So I'm sorted.
Is that on some kind of remote controller? We can press it if you start gurgling.
Yeah, exactly. So I think let Kris crack on.
Go on, Kris.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously things are not good at the moment, and the main reason I wanted to speak to Raj, because obviously Raj is from sort of what I would say is like the old school in terms of that, he's been around the block. There's not much he hasn't seen in his supporting days, much like you, Danny. Sort of we're a bit older than some, and I wanted to kind of take it back and just look at the overall situation we're in. Really, I don't usually make notes. I have to stress, and anyone that's listened to me podcast will probably be fully aware that I don't make notes. But on this one, I wanted to, because I just wanted to kind of bullet point a few things that have me irked. And I am pretty angry at the moment, and I am pretty upset. And I know that there's the memes about a lot of people know my love for French football, of course. And it's like, oh, you don't even watch games anymore. I genuinely don't. And I because I can't bring myself to watch what we're producing at the moment. Do I sort of have games on in the background? Yes. Do I pay attention? Yes. Do I go back and re-watch them afterwards? Often, yes. But just live games at the moment, if there's something better to do, I tend to do that. And I tend to watch football that I enjoy. And that sort of brings me to where I've noted these things together. I'm going to just read this list to you. And it's kind of bullet pointed. It is a little bit lengthy, but I'll try and chop some bits off. And then we'll just kind of have maybe pick apart a few bits of it. So my main sort of first point that launches me into this is the FA Cup masked the inept league form, and we all fell for it. And that's quite a big statement to say. But if you go back to the end of last season, Arteta's first game, I believe, was Boxing Day against Bournemouth last season. We drew 1-1. We then went on to lose to Chelsea. Rather unfortunate, it has to be said. We beat Manchester United. We then went on a run of draws against Crystal Palace, Sheffield United, Chelsea and Burnley. We beat Newcastle at home, a Newcastle side that had very little to play for. We beat an Everton side at home, just. And if you remember, it really was just. We limped past West Ham at home 1-0, where we had that before. We got absolutely taken to pieces by Manchester City. when everything all went a bit wonky. We lost away to Brighton. That was Guendouzi gate, of course. We beat Southampton away 2-0. Again, a Southampton side that were not in the best form. Similarly, beating Norwich at home. And then we went away and beat Wolves side, whose season had finished. We drew at home to Leicester. Of course, we lost to Spurs, standard. We did beat Liverpool, which again, I think gave everybody that jolt of confidence. We then went to Villa Park and lost to Aston Villa and were inept. And we beat Watford on the final day. So in overall, you look at those results and you think to yourself, okay, not too bad. All right, transition, we've got the summer. So many things are going to change at the club. So where did we change? So the summer transfer business, I've written here, it's questionable. We sold our best goalkeeper. We froze out two of our better upcoming players in Guendouzi and Saliba. Whether you think that was right in Guendouzi's case or not, everything the manager said suggested otherwise. Completely destroyed William Saliba's confidence and any faith we had in him because we didn't even give the lad a chance to play. Full stop. He was named on the bench for the Community Shield and just didn't get game time. We had the summer of Edu promoting Arteta with almost zero CV to back it up. And again, that might sound harsh, but in the nicest possible way, Wigan won the FA Cup. They got through a couple of easy draws. They beat Manchester City with a massive performance in the final. When I say anyone can win an FA Cup, you know what I mean by that. So largely a small CV, but what do? We go and promote him straight away. We won that FA Cup with largely defensive tactics. Whether you like it or you don't, it's facts. We parked the bus, we held possession, we got a little bit of luck, we took our chances, we won against Manchester City and Liverpool, was it? I think it was. That's just facts, just the way it is. Since then, we had, funnily, since things have gone off the rail this season, zero communication from the owners since the summer. It's funny how this has occurred since the club's form has gone downhill, isn't it? It's funny how they've all suddenly gone very quiet. No appointment to the board, no new staff added. So we had all this talk about the shake-up in the boardroom, about the changes, about new staff, new fresh ideas. Nothing's happened. That's all just gone off the plate. I don't know what's happened with the scouting team. Seems to have gone. On that line, all of Arteta's staff, they're all yes men. One guy is, I've been a little bit harsh here, but I've written, he's so young, it's embarrassing for a club of our size and stature. I'm sure the guy is a lovely guy. I'm sure he's got lots of ideas, but there's no way a guy should be going into a high profile role in the coaching staff without any CV at all. I think he was found, I think he went and watched a few Manchester City training sessions. Great. Well done to you, but we're not an education facility. Lack of management skills from the manager. It's a dictatorship. It's micromanaged beyond belief. Again, it might sound harsh, but look at what we've got in front of us. Look at the facts. Players are clearly not responding on the pitch, whether this is due to not understanding the instructions or the inability to take them on board. Either way, change something. Nothing's being changed. It's the same old players. It's the same old tactics. It's the same old styles. We're getting mixed signals from Arteta. More than happy to throw players like Pepe under the bus, but he's quite happy to defend Xhaka and Willian regardless of their performances. Continues to not show faith in the young players despite claiming that it's a fantastic group to develop. I mean, we're not seeing it unless it's in a game where, no offence to our Europa League group, but us three probably could have got through that on our own. Making statements like he'll destroy people who leak stories. For me, that's just plain stupid. If you leave out players, but you keep them at the club, what did you think was going to happen? So in other words, Ozil and Socrates being two. So you made it clear they had no interest in keeping them. You knew they were big personalities, but you kept them around at the club. Makes no sense. Internal discipline has gone. If you look at the dressing room, Ceballos and Nketiah's little spat at Fulham, Ceballos and Luis apparently having a training ground incident. The stories about Luis and Arteta not getting on, Ozil and Arteta not getting on, Saliba on Instagram, Pepe on Instagram, Socrates, the list just goes on and on. Unai Emery was hounded out of the club for difficulties due to communication. Well, what's changed under Arteta? If anything, I think it's got worse. Sure, he talks a good game, but what has actually changed? Nothing. Players have regressed under Arteta, something that I think people have really missed. Xhaka was never good enough in the first place, but he's gone back to his old ways. Bellerin had a good start to the season, has gone backwards. Tierney, I think, is a fantastic player, but he's regressing. You can see it in his performances. Ozil, no, don't even need to mention it. Lacazette looks tired, looks fatigued, looks out of shape, looks out of form, is being forced to play a role that doesn't suit him. Pepe can hardly get in the team. Our captain looks like a budget, I don't know what, just completely out of sorts. Leno can't even catch a football anymore. I don't know what's happened to the coaching or the development. So much regression. Don't worry, I'm nearly done. The final three, no long-term plan. Despite all the clever sound bites and all this talk of the academy, there's no faith being shown in any of it. Instead, we just keep faith with players that simply aren't good enough. A long-term plan should revolve around a clear structure and a footballing philosophy and style. We have neither. Lineups, same old tactics, same old systems, same old results. Nothing's tried or changed. Nothing has changed in-game. Substitutions are poor. Timing of them is poor. And unless it's a very last resort, we don't look to change a thing. And by that, I mean moving Aubameyang into central. And the final thing, you'll all be happy to know, play style. It's dull, it's boring, it lacks any creativity. There's no risk for reward. The pressing that we were so famed and thought was so great, that's completely vanished. We don't play out from the back. There's no speed in any areas of the pitch. So you can all say, oh, yeah, we didn't sign a creative player. There's no speed in any of this team. There's no direct play in any of this team. Even players like Bukayo Saka, who's based around that style of play, is being throttled into not playing the way he wants to play. So good luck, Gabriel Martinelli, when you come back in. And all the players are strangled and they're forced to stick to rigid game plans. This says to me, very Pep Guardiola. And that's where I'll draw my notes to a close. So, Raj, I mean, anything I've said there that you want to pick up on, or anything that you completely disagree with, or feel free to add to that list, because that's kind of where my mind's at the moment.
I think you might be muted.
I'm here now. I think you kind of covered it. I think you covered it all, really. I mean, up into somebody that was just by saying we're a cup team, and Arteta's pretty shit at the moment. But you're a bit more detailed in your observations. I've got nothing more to add to that. I mean, it's like 2010 again. You know, we seem to have regressed a decade, and things are going back to what they used to be. I mean, I looked on social media yesterday on Twitter, and you know, big chunks of the fans are now divided again. You know, and fan groups are having goes at each other. All last night was happening. You know, certain fan groups blaming each other for what went on previously and stuff like that. So it's not a good time for us. And you know, I still, you know, when we talk about manager, I still feel that he should still be kept on until the end of the season. But I get a horrible feeling the board don't agree with me, and I think they may be making a decision very, very soon, especially if we don't do well in the next 2 or 3 games. I do think, I've got a feeling that Arteta might be gone before the end of the month, and they might bring in someone like Pochettino, even though he's a bloody Tottenham manager, to replace him. And a lot of the bookies are saying the same thing. So I don't know, Danny, what do you think?
Well, I think you've got to look at the fact that what's coming up next. I'd like to go through Chris's list and then just talk about all the bullet points, start with the top one and work our way through and discuss all of them. I think that's a good idea. But I think what you said, Raj, how long is it going to be? Because it's all well and good if he wins against Southampton and then draws against Everton and maybe loses to Chelsea, but that's not going to happen. It's going to be 4 losses in a row. We're not going to win. We are rock bottom. We're playing the worst football. We are worse now than under Emery. Now, I don't blame Arteta for that completely. I said when he was given the job that I didn't want him to have the job because Arsenal isn't a place where you come to learn on the job. He's only had one job as manager, where he had one game at Man City, which they lost 2-1 in the Champions League. Other than that, he's got no experience. Too many players are coming back to their old clubs with very little experience. Even Lampard had a season at Derby, and Ole had a few seasons with Mould, and then he with Cardiff, and I think we went back to Mulder and discovered Haaland, which was fantastic. But then it's going to be 4 losses in the next 4 games. We're not going to win. I mean, when you look at the simple fact that we're going, is it the players' fault or is it Arteta's fault? But then you look at the game, and near the end of the last game, Aubameyang was running at goal, which is what he does. He's made a career of doing it for best part of 15 years. And he's running at the 2 defenders, which is his ideal place where he wants to be. And as he comes up to them, he slows down, passes the ball right, and then they try and cross it in. That's not what Aubameyang does. That's not that's not in his DNA to do that. So he's been told to do that. And all these constant crosses from what do we have? 120 crosses in 3 games, of which we scored no goals. I mean, they've been told to do it. No footballer can be that stupid to keep doing the same thing over and over and over, hoping that it's going to change, because it's not going to change. And Aubameyang scored 3 headers in his Arsenal career. And I think all of them were under Arteta, or somebody said that, I don't know. And then, so that's not his game. And then we've got, like you were saying, Chris, you've got poor old Lacazette, who is running himself ragged. He's playing sweeper, midfielder, defensive midfielder, attacking midfielder, striker, and playing the entire lot. You can't get a player. And then people are going, oh, look, Lacazette's knackered. Well, of course he's knackered. He's just spent the last hour running deep to get... Remember, like Sanchez used to do? He used to drop back into our defence to get the ball and walk it out because no one would give it to him. He was so many levels above the rest of the Arsenal team. The only player that was on Sanchez's level was Ozil, and we all know how that turned out. And so they've been told to do this. And I know that in the final Emery days, Emery was scared of losing, and so he was playing such defensive football. The current Arteta football, he is so scared of losing. I think he's scared of getting possession. And I made a really good, which I think is a good analogy, Raj, in case you probably didn't hear it. When Tom was on, I said it's a little bit like, I'll do the short analogy. It's a little bit like Arteta's making a cake and he's putting the ingredients in, start at the back, give to the defenders, give to the midfielders. And every time something breaks down, give it back to the goalkeeper. Alan Davies pointed this out perfectly on the Tuesday Club podcast I listened to last night. He said that they were sat near the corner flag or behind the goal, somewhere like that. And he said at one point we had the ball in their half, we were pressurising them, and then the ball came back, and it came all the way back to Leno. Now you would think Leno would get the ball and launch it down there. Our players all ran 40 yards from the Burnley area, pressurising them to our own area to pick up the ball and start the process again. Goalie, defender, midfielder, out wide, break, it stops. And I wanted to get a piece of paper and write down Leno, Bellerin, Willian. Willian loses possession. Back, they take it. Then we get it again. Xhaka, Willian, we lose possession. Corners, we lose possession. Throw-in, we lose possession. And just write it down and see who is the last player every time that loses possession. And it all comes down to on the wings. Because when we were attacking, Burnley were going, right, we're sticking 9 men behind the ball. Literally. And that's the literal word of the word, literally. That's what they were doing. So there's no way Aubameyang can go through the middle because there's too many players there. So they push us out wide, and that's the Arteta game plan. And they know that if they do that to us, that's all we can do, go out wide. And who are we going to get to header the ball in? No one. Unless Gabriel. That's why Gabriel is one of our top goal scorers this season, because he's the only one big enough to do anything from a corner and go and full Giroud. There you go.
Where to go after that? I agree with both of you. I think the concern, well, one of the concerns I have as well, is that this has all been going on when there hasn't been fans in stadiums, and of course we know, like, London's not allowing, or certain parts of London's not allowing fans for the games again for a while, and there won't be any there tomorrow. Looking at those fixtures, so you don't see a win from the next 4, Danny, you were saying. I mean, Southampton are one of the most informed teams in the league who we play tomorrow. It would be very like us to go and win that game and almost put a plaster over what's going on. Everton, I'm not convinced by, and again, this is all under the caveat that I'm not convinced by us. Chelsea, they've lost tonight, but I mean, I can't really see anything coming from that. My biggest sort of concern, particularly with the manager, is he looks to me like he's aging every single game, and it looks like he's now struggling to keep that, the duck analogy. Everything's calm up here, but underneath he's just paddling furiously. And that's kind of how I feel. And I feel like he doesn't have an answer to this. That's my concern.
No experience of how to fix it. And then exactly. The other thing that we see is that when things do go wrong, he goes classic Wenger. He's bringing on the wrong players at the wrong times. He's not expressing himself on the pitch the way that the players want to do. And all the things that used to drive us nuts about Wenger in the Wenger-Latte years, Arteta was there in those years. Arteta saw it all. And then, like you were saying, from fraud Guardiola, he's picking out the worst bits from Wenger, the worst bits from Guardiola, rather than learning from 2 of the most successful managers in history. He's doing the things that drive us crazy, like doing the same thing over and over. Arteta, what do you think is going to happen? How many crosses do you want to see failed before you go, not doing that anymore? What are we going to do? We're going to draw. when we got a player sent off, Chris, Raj, in the second half, we got a player sent off that brought them out. They were attacking us, and that's what we should have done. Draw them out, let them attack us, catch them on the break. Because Burnley aren't known for their speed. You see, some of their players are horrendous. Talking of speed, did you see that point where Bellerin had the ball and he went to put the ball, kick the ball ahead, went to go around the outside of the player, and the other player ran off without him. And I thought, Bellerin, that's you done. That's one thing you could rely on, your pace to get you out of shit. You can't do that anymore. That's what.
Do you remember that film, Tom Cruise film, Live, Die, Repeat, The Edge of Tomorrow, where he
yes.
constantly relives the same day, but he gets better every day. Well, it's Arteta, but he's not getting better. He's reliving the same game every time, and he doesn't learn. He doesn't learn. And I like Arteta. I've got no issues with him.
I think we all like him.
But I said this in the last podcast. He was not experienced enough to take on such a huge job as the Arsenal. It's a massive club. And he didn't have the experience, and everyone's just wanking themselves because he was an ex-player, and he'd been learning under Pep, but he hadn't learned enough. And I said I got shouted down last time a few weeks ago when I said we should have waited a couple of years before bringing him to the club, But I think every game that happens now, it proves my point. He's just don't think he's got the depth of knowledge to make the kind of changes that's required to create a successful football team on any given day.
Does he have the respect to the players? Because that's something Guardiola will have.
No, I don't think he does.
I don't think he does. He's just young. He's not. He's quite naive. He's inexperienced, and he wouldn't have had the. He doesn't have the respect like perhaps Arsene Wenger did. Even towards the end, he still had the respect to the players. But I don't know. I think in the next 4 games, if we lose 2 or 3 of those next 4 games, I'm afraid that's it. I don't think the board will wait any longer because they'll be shitting themselves about. I mean, we won't get relegated.
No,
we're too big a club to get relegated. Although Villa said that once as well, and it happened. But we won't get relegated. But the board might not think that, and they might need to try and repair the damage before it's too late.
That's something I wanted to ask you, Raj. You've been to a lot of games and you've seen a lot of teams and a lot of squads under different managers throughout the eras. I remember back in the day when George left and we played, from memory, and I could be wrong here, I'm sure Danny will correct me, but I think it was Nottingham Forest was the first game we played after George had left, and it was at Highbury. I think Stuart Houston was in charge then. It was before Bruce Rioch came in, and we had to play out the rest of that season. We were a mess, and I remember back in the days when my granddad was alive, and we used to listen to all the games on Radio 5 because this is way before Sky and everything like that. And I remember looking at our squad, and I had like a team poster on the wall of that era. And when George left, and I looked at that squad. And even as a young kid back in the mid-90s then, I just looked at it and I went, Jesus, like this is a really bad team. This is before the era of the superstar players. But we just had a really bad squad full of sort of very, very average players. And I remember thinking then, Christ, whoever comes in has got a hell of a job. Do you look at that squad that we've got now? And I personally think it's a good squad. I don't buy into this.
It's a great squad. I think it's a better squad than what we had back then.
Yeah,
but
I completely agree.
It's man management. There's a failure of man management. I don't know what's going on. I wish I could tell you what's going on, but it's like the players don't respect him enough to actually listen to his instructions.
Yeah,
and I think because he portrays naivety and he doesn't look confident sometimes. That the players prey off him, and they just going to collect their weekly wages and not give a shit. And the player should be blamed as much as the manager as well. But it's a better squad than the teams that you were talking about just now.
Yeah,
we've got some real quality, but Aubameyang hasn't scored a goal in ages. Well, he scored on Sunday, I know, but
it doesn't even look like
it doesn't look like scoring a goal. We've got some really good players. I've got no idea what's going on. And you're right. You said you don't watch games and stuff. There'll be 2 times this season I forgot we were playing, and I only managed to watch the last 30 minutes of one game and the second half of the other. Completely forgot because I don't lose sleep over it anymore. I don't spend days raging over a defeat. Even the Tottenham game, normally I'll be sulking for 2 weeks because I've got Tottenham fans in my family who have basically been taking the piss out of me since then. But it just does. I just beginning to lose that. I don't know. I just don't really care that much. It doesn't bother me. The life there's so much more in life at the moment in my life that Arsenal's not a priority, and it's quite sad actually. It's quite sad,
And that's what bleeds into. I don't know what you think about this, Danny. You can have a go on this. This is what bleeds into my other statement when I said there, where it's not fun. Football is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be that release, that escape from all the stuff that is typically miserable in your day. And of course, that you're going to lose games, and I don't want to go back to I miss Arsenal type of rhetoric with this, but at least with us, and you pretty much knew that, yeah, sure, we would play good football, but we'd still go away and lose 3-0 to Blackburn every once in a while. You knew that would happen. You knew when his substitutions would be. You knew that there'd be an excuse if we lost. But you knew you'd get some bright spots. You knew you'd get some decent football, some attacking football, and probably some naive defending. With us, the joy is not there for me. I don't get any joy in watching us. And I know you're asleep for a lot of the day, Danny, but when you watch games... did you ever? I think Raj is exactly right. The Tottenham game for me was the one where I just sat there, and at no point in that game did I once think we had any chance of getting anything out of that game. And as soon as it went 2-0, I was like, nah, I'm done. I mean, at 1-0 it was done, but at 2-0 it was definitely done. I can't get any joy out of it, and I have to stress again, it's not all on Mikel, and I do like the guy, and I want it to work, but it's got that feel that we had when Freddie left. It's got that feel. We had the brief upturn. Everybody was enthusiastic. And then Freddie went, you know what? Fuck it. Have the kids. I'm out. I'm done. And it feels like that. And I wonder if we might get the kids tomorrow night. So do you get any joy? Do you get any enjoyment out of watching anything we do? Because I just don't.
We're talking about knowing when it was over. All Arteta, if you're watching this, go and have a look at Twitter before the game, because we're telling you what was going to happen against Leicester. We are telling you Vardy was on the bench. They are going to hold us for an hour or so. They're going to bring Vardy on. Vardy's going to do a Vardy goal. That's exactly what happened. We told you. Everybody knows what Jose is going to do. He's going to poke, pinch, pull your hair. He's going to call your names. He's going to stamp on your feet. And then the moment you're least expecting it, bang, they're going to go. They've got 2 decent players. They're going to go down there and set up a goal. And they did it. And then Josie went, nah, right, everyone sit down, park all the buses. Eddie, go and do it again. And they went and did it again. If Spurs wanted to, they could have beat us 5-0. We had absolutely nothing. The chances we did have, we didn't take. But talking about, you were talking about when George Graham, do you know he only won 1 of his last 11 games as Arsenal manager, which is a 1-0 away at Coventry? I didn't realise how bad it had got.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Talking about what you do, I'm actually taking more notice of games now. Normally, I'll be sitting here. I've got a 32-inch monitor, and I'll watch all the games on here because it's close. I'm going to dump over. I hardly ever turn the big telly on now. And I'm sitting. I'll be really close, and I'll be watching the formations of play down the right-hand side. Bellerin, Willian to Elneny to Bellerin to Willian. Then short corners in a triangle, cross it across, left-hand side, Tierney, Saka, little triangles. But it's like you've read a manual on what to do, and it doesn't work, so you do it again. And we've said so many times already, why are you doing the same thing over and over? We're telling you, we as Arsenal fans are telling you, Arteta, what is going to happen. You're not fucking listening. Now, why are you not listening? And now he's gone from dropping Lacazette to moving Lacazette to playing Lacazette up front again and playing Aubameyang left and playing Willian right. And you've played, how many different formations? When was the last time we played the same 11 in one game after the other? I know we did it in the Premier League, apart from Partey, but one game after the other. You can't go and have all these young players playing really well and then going, oh, by the way, yeah, I know I've won 6 out of 6. We played some really interesting football, but we've got a Premier League game. You lot can get fucked because now I'm playing these fucktards that have meant we've won bugger all games. We've lost more games than we've won already this season. So none of you lot are going to get any kind of encouragement to go, oh, here you go. Here's your reward for playing 6 game wins out of 6. Balogun, you're on the bench. And we can have a couple of strikers on the bench to bring them on if the current strikers that we have on there are doing nothing, because they're full of like Balogun is everything we're crying out for. Balogun, Nelson, Willock, all these people that have done so well for us. What must they be thinking? I mean, I was looking at the ages. Arteta's 38, and you look at the Arsenal squad. Luiz is 5 years younger. Socrates is 6. Ozil is 6 younger. Willian is 6 younger. You've got someone who is only 5 or 6 years older than you, 6 or 7 years, telling you what to do as a pro. When really, what did Arteta do as a career, as a pro? He won the Intertoto Cup with PSG. He won the title and the cup with Rangers. And I think he won 1 FA Cup with Arsenal. And that's all he's ever done in his career. And he didn't play for Spain. He played for the youth levels at Spain. He's not really achieved much as a player. And then you look at the likes of Aubameyang, one of the greatest strikers of the modern era of football. Lacazette, another brilliant one. And then you've got all these other players that are at the top of their game. Ozil, he's won the World Cup. And you're a manager who's never managed before. You've not really done much of your career. And you're telling a World Cup winner and one of the most creative, one of the most adored players in the world who, I think he's past it now and he just gave up years ago. You're telling all these people you're not playing. And like we've all thought for ages, that dressing room, you've got the clique in there, the Bundesliga bastards, as I hashtagged it the other day, that annoyed Drew. Sorry, Drew. And it's since come out that it is Ozil and it's Socrates are the two ones that run the dressing room. Like years ago, we used to have a little Spanish clique, the French clique, and then you had the English one, and you had all these little cliques going on. And you're not going to have someone who's been at the club like Ozil for 7 years. And hasn't something come out with Ainsley saying, "Oh, we're all behind Ozil" from October? Hasn't this recently come out a video of it where he's saying, "Oh, we're all behind Ozil and we all support him" and stuff like that? You can't have someone of the status of Ozil in the squad and then you freeze him out. And the other player you freeze out is Socrates. And Arteta must know that these two players are the ones that run in the dressing room, and they're the younger players looking at Arteta and going, "Well, you're not letting Ozil play." The most creative player that we've had at the club in years, although maybe he hasn't done it much, but all these things are just adding up. And we need the answer to this. I don't know if you agree with this, Raj. What we need to do in January, we give a free transfer to Ozil, Socrates, Mustafi, Kolasinac. Get rid of them all because most of those have only got 6 months left on their contract, and we're going to have to pay them anyway. So just say to them, go on, fuck off you go. Get those ones out of the dressing room, let some of the youngsters get more games, and then Arteta can start to mould that dressing room to what he wants, rather than having in the corner, "I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill whoever's let that out." And then they let it out.
But you know that's not going to happen. You know that's not going to happen. It's more likely that he'll put Ozil back in the squad.
Yep.
If he does that means he's lost. He's lost the battle to show who's in charge.
I think he will put him back in January because, I mean, if he's still with us by then, he'll be desperate for some sort of change, and Ozil's the one that he will hope that can change things around. But
we've got 5 games until the rest of this year, and then the next game in the new year is the 2nd of January. We're away at West Brom. That's when the players can go.
This Ozil thing this is what kind of worries me about what Arteta's done. When it's the double standards. When the news came out in the summer that El Nene was coming back, I was like, actually that's not bad. He's gone out on loan. He played in Turkey. I watched a couple of games while he was out there, and he was actually pretty decent. He had a good season with Besiktas, and I thought, you know what, I quite like it when players go away on loan that are maybe not in favour and come back and get a second chance. I really liked that about Arteta, and I like the sound bites about, it's a fresh slate. And then he gave the press conference where he talked about Guendouzi, and he said, he admitted essentially that they'd had differences. He didn't exactly say that there'd been disciplinary issues, but he might as well have done. He alluded to it heavily. And anyone that's followed Guendouzi's career knows that there is that side of his game. And he's a young, cocksure chap, and that requires a certain type of management. Just like if you've got I'm sure Raj has had an experience of this. If you manage certain people, whether it be in your line of work or in general life, you don't treat everyone exactly the same. We've all got friends that respond to being talked to in certain ways and not in others. And he came out and said, it's a fresh slate, and we'll give everyone a go. So, and within that same time frame, Lucas Torreira was shipped out to Atletico Madrid. I understand that because that freed the gap for Thomas Partey. And then before you know it, Guendouzi is off to Hertha Berlin. And I just think to myself, like, okay, you've said one thing, and I appreciate what you say in the press is not always going to be what you say behind closed doors. But you've led us into thinking you want to give these players a chance. You've then shipped a guy off who, looking at our squad with certainly age profile, he's one of our most sellable assets if he's playing well, which he is in Germany at the moment. So you've immediately sort of said, well, I don't fancy this guy. So that immediately drops his valuation. No, none of us sit here and think that Ozil's the answer long term, but he couldn't do any bloody worse right now. And I think he's a player that, is he lazy? Yeah, absolutely he is. Is he going to track back? No, he isn't going to track back. But is that his game? No. You're talking about signing a creative number 10. Well, what do you want them to do? You want them to track back as well. I don't want
He's
us.
not going to do a Lacazette in that position, is he?
No, and I don't want us to go out and sign Houssam, one of the best attacking creative midfielders in France, who, by the way, is quite a moody chap and has a few disciplinary issues himself. I don't want us to go and sign him and plant him next to Xhaka. What's the point? And this double standard thing really gets to me. He's crushing Pepe's career, and that bothers me, obviously, from my bias of where he's come from and the player that he was at Lille. But he's absolutely crushing a £72 million asset. Whether you think he's worth £7 million or £72 million, we are going to pay £72 million for that player. His sell-on value at the moment, if we open the valuation now and we said, right, we're taking bids, we wouldn't get 22. We just wouldn't. And is that because the player's crap? No. Is that because the player's not worth a good transfer fee? No. It's because his portfolio in an Arsenal shirt is average at best.
It's like he never watched him play for Lille and see what he does.
He probably didn't, is the truth, because he has this mentality that if you're an Unai Emery signing, look at Saliba. If you didn't come in under me, or you're not one of the guys that I know, from my time here before, I'm not interested. And if you don't want to, and it's all very well with this whole Sergeant Major, teacher attitude of, well, we're all in the same boat, we do it my way or the highway. As you said, that's fine if it's coming from Jose Mourinho. That's fine if it's coming from Carlo Ancelotti. That's fine if it's coming from George Graham. It's not fine if it's coming from a guy who, no offense, you've done fuck all. You are literally a nobody in managerial speak. You're a club legend. You're a thoroughly nice bloke. You're an excellent captain. I thought he was underrated as a player for us. I always liked him as a player. But as a manager, you earn respect. You don't just come in and say, right, well, it's my fucking way or piss off, because you won't have a club. And these players that he's frozen out, when you have got a player on Instagram, a public forum, basically saying to his friend in Germany, yeah, I've been frozen out like you, brother. Okay, that wasn't the smartest thing for William Saliba to do.
But he's 19.
He's 19. And this is a guy that we refused to let play a cup final because he was so integral to our future. And now he's playing reserve team football. And do you know what I mean? I know I've got a bit off the cliff there, but
it's true.
What do you want? What do you want, Kris? What do you want to happen in the next few weeks?
Oh God!
What do you expect to happen in the next few weeks?
I think you're right, Raj. I think they'll stick with him because I think there's too many egos above him to admit they were wrong. And I think
plus then you just bring in another manager who's then got Wenger, Emery, Arteta players that he probably doesn't want. But look at what I hate giving him credit. Look what the twat down the road has done. That squad is average at best. Anybody that says to me that Tottenham's squad is better than Arsenal's, I don't buy it. They've got 3 players that are better than what we have right now. That's the goalkeeper, the centre forward, and the cheating little rat on the left wing. None of those other players would I take in Arsenal's starting lineup. I mean, right now I'd probably take the lot, but you know what I mean. And he's got that bloke from Southampton who was nothing special and made him the linchpin of his team. Exactly.
So, I mean, what I want to happen, I don't think I don't know. I can't see how Arteta gets through this without things getting a lot worse, because he's not going to come out and say, do you know what, I was wrong. I don't think he's going to change his ways. And I don't think our board or the people above him have got any sort of backbone to make an informed decision. And if you bring in, say you brought in somebody to support him, because like I said about the staffing, all of his staff are yes men. Imagine if we mentioned Gerard Houllier at the start of this podcast. Do you remember when he came into Liverpool? He came in alongside Roy Evans, and there was this joint management team. Can you imagine if we did that? We brought in somebody to help Arteta. How weak that would make him look. To answer your question, Rajal, what I see happening is they stick with him, and we spuddle our way through December and January, probably getting, because we are too good to go down. I agree with you, and I think we'll scratch together a few results. It'll paper over the cracks. We'll get to January. We'll probably spend the entire of January chasing a player that we don't sign. We'll end up with Phil Jones on loan to the end of the season. We'll get to the end of the season, and then the board might actually go, do you know what? It hasn't quite worked. But it's too late by then. We're still in European competition. There's still this season is a mess. Anybody can win this title. I'm not saying we're remotely in that talk. Don't get me wrong. But I genuinely, and I hate saying this, and I've never been this type of guy, but I would change it now. I would change it now. And I wouldn't like Pochettino, much like you, Raj. He's got Tottenham stain to me. I'm a bit old school in that regard, but I would get someone. Lucien Favre's just gone from Dortmund. I'd get somebody who's got actual experience of a dressing room and has got genuine managerial experience and maybe a bit of firefighting in them, and say to him, look, you come in, end of the season, if it goes well, we'll sit down, we'll talk again. There's no guarantees, there's no promises. What's more likely to happen is we stick with Arteta to the end of the season. Thomas Tuchel will probably lose his job at PSG when they end up at the Champions League, and we'll probably end up with him. So, I mean, that's kind of how I see it going. What would you do?
I'm not too sure the board will wait that long. I'd love them to wait that long, to be quite honest. I still want to give the man time, but if these next 4 fixtures go tits up, then I think we'll be looking for our 3rd manager in 2 years by the end of this month.
What do you think about the board? Because you've known, from the old school generation, you know a lot about how the inner workings of the club and how things are run. Some of the characters have been involved. What do you make of this?
It's a business for them. It's nothing more than that. I don't think they, so long as the money's pouring in. I mean, I don't know what their accounts are going to look like this year, to be honest. I think they'll be recording a deficit, like most other clubs. But it's not about the football for them. It's a business, and it has been since Kroenke took over, really. Although I don't know how they're going to address their finances over the next 12 months. And I just, honestly, I've kind of given up. I've lost the will to live when it comes to this club.
Thank you, Arsenal.
And you're right. I do watch the games. It's not the same without crowds and stuff. And there's 80, 90,000 of us who used to go to games and stuff like that, even if it was just once a month or twice a month, who missed that, and that was part of our lives and stuff. So there is that mental factor of not really wanting to watch football in the way it is now, and especially the way we're playing as well. But in some ways, the players are lucky that they haven't got 60,000 fans watching them play, because they'd be murdered. They'd get murdered by the fans, the way they're playing at the moment. So, do you think that if there were 60,000 fans watching them, they might put a bit more of an effort in?
No, they probably write a stern letter of complaint.
Well, you look at the games at the weekend that had fans in. There was a noticeable change, wasn't there? Like Everton overperformed, I thought, against Chelsea. Fulham, yeah. I mean, it's. But the trouble is,
stadium, but they were so loud.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Then you look at Arsenal, and you. I mean, again, not being on Twitter is a bit of a blessing at the moment. But all the reports I heard was that you couldn't hear any of our fans.
Yeah,
because nobody gave a shit, and that's the apathy that we are here. I, like you, Danny, I listened to Alan Davis' podcast, and he was saying that the stewards are still being, stewardy, shall we say? And I get it's their job, but
emptying your fucking pockets.
Well, and sticking them in, in the lower tier. Oh, you can't go in the upper tiers. You can't sit here. You can't stand there. I mean, it just everything about it is rotten. I do think the fans would make a difference, but what if this was different, Raj, and you had fans there, because we always get this argument every time we do a podcast about anything controversial. We always get the same argument, and to a degree, I understand it. The vast majority of people who have a voice on social media are not the people paying to go and watch the games. So do you actually think that there would be an apathy? Because there was booing the other night, wasn't there? There was
there wouldn't be an apathy. I'm just saying that because they'd have 60,000 fans on their back, they'd probably play a bit better. Because the fans at Emirates can be quite brutal at times, and I've seen plenty of instances where the Arsenal team's been booed off at half time and full time quite a lot over the years, especially in the last 10 years. So I think if you had 60,000 fans breathing down their backs, they might put a bit more effort in. But it's not an excuse. There shouldn't be an excuse for them to be playing poorly, because they're still getting paid the usual whack of money, basically. So
yeah,
I don't know. I just
that is the noise, isn't it? It's just like. And how can it go so wrong? This is what I can't get my head around. I can't work out. And it almost feels like the more power that Arteta's got and the more he's having to juggle, the more he's taken his eye off what worked when he first came in. We were better defensively. We had a structure. We had some formation of a style of play to a degree. It wasn't brilliant, but there was a focus. It just feels like the more he's got to juggle, the more he's got to do, it's going further and further wrong. And again, I'll stand by what I said when he first came in. I was all for it. I praised him. I was like, yeah, this is great. I can really see a future under this guy. So I'm not being sort of, I'm not denying the fact that I was 100% behind his appointment, because I was. But at the same time, I reserve right to change my opinion, because what we're watching now is not what we were watching when he came in. And when you lose senior players, when you have a situation like we had with Xhaka the other night, did you not think, like after the Pepe incident, surely he would have got the players together and said, look, you can't do that. You can't have a situation where you lose discipline because we're in a bit of a struggle here. We're not in great form. You can't lose your heads. When you got players, El Nene should have walked as well. When you got players actively, grabbing professionals by the throat in a match, that speaks of unhappiness a lot deeper than it wasn't just an in-game moment. It was, it's classic Xhaka, to be fair, but it smacks of players that are just completely gone, doesn't it? Like, just the discipline is gone.
Maybe the players have taken over the dressing room. Simple as that. They don't listen to him anymore, and they'll do what they want, and it's showing on the pitch,
Yeah.
I don't think he's got the strength to really. What a goal by Man City. Sorry.
At least you're enjoying something.
Yeah, it was just a great move. Yeah, I wish we could play like that. Bloody hell. Now I'm even more depressed. I should switch it off. What was I saying? He's lost the players. And the players don't respect him. He doesn't have the strength to enforce his will on them. And I just think he's just ill. He's not suited for Arsenal. Or for any big team at the moment.
Are the play? And before I say this, another Wengerism, bringing players back too soon from injury. You thought he'd have, after playing alongside Ramsey and Wilshere and all that, like, you wouldn't have done it. If it would have worked, it would have been a masterstroke, though. Raj, do you think? What was I going to say? What did you just say? God, I've forgotten already.
What did we all say?
I'm just rambling now.
Losing the dressing room, Daddy. Losing the players. Losing the.
I've lost this podcast.
That's where we were. Losing discipline.
It's going to be a matter of results. Do you think, like, that's it? At Chelsea, it was a known fact John Terry led a revolt every time he didn't like the manager and got the managers out. Do you think there is a play revolt going on, and there's some players, some cliques deliberately trying to get the manager out, and that no matter what Arteta does, he's not going to get the players back on side?
Possibly, but Abramovich doesn't own the club, and I don't think Kroenke gives a shit what the players think.
Yeah.
So he's not going to fork out millions of quid in paying Arteta off and getting another manager in. So we've got that problem as well. There's the finance side of it as well. So how many years is Arteta signed for? 3?
I think it's a 3. Yeah, I think it's a 3-year contract. Yeah.
I don't know. Don't remember. Looking at something we were saying before the pod, talking about finances, I said, look how many, say the Cronkies don't care, and people go, oh, of course they care. It's a multi-billion pound bit. How many times, Kris, have we been had by people, whether it's agents, whether it's Toadface, or whether it's Kia Jarabkin, or he was one who's gone, isn't he? Raul Stanielli, all these people that have come in and have milked the club. I mean, the Pepe deal, the new contract for Ozil, the new contract for Aubameyang. If they were businessmen, you'd look at that and go, hold on, Aubameyang's on 180 grand a year. I mean, a year, we wish. He's on 180 grand, give or take. We don't know, actually. We don't know what the bonuses are. I doubt very much Aubameyang got 180 grand put in his bank account every Friday at midnight, did he? No, I doubt that. But just take it for that. He's on 180 grand a week. We all know for a fact that his agent touted him for all the big clubs in Europe. They either didn't want him, they couldn't afford him, or they didn't want the wages. And so then he comes back to the club and goes, yeah, I'm actually going to stay. It's not like an Ian Wright, where Ian Wright says, okay, any contract you can put in front of me, I will sign because I want to stay. It wasn't that. We know that Aubameyang was touted around everywhere. And so yet another time we've been done over by people. Now, if I owned that club, I would be involved in every transfer deal, every contract deal, every single aspect of the club I would be involved in. And I'd be there in the room and go, well, you want 350 grand from 180 grand when no one else wants you? Or we'll give you 225 and we'll pay you the rest in bonuses. Maybe that's how they do it. How many times have we been fucked over as a club financially? We're in the hole for 72 million. Like you said earlier, Kris, we're paying 72 million. It doesn't fucking matter whether you moan, whether we sell him on. We still have to pay 72 million for the next 4 seasons, 3.5 seasons to Lille, the structured deal. We can't go back with the receipt and go, actually, don't really like it. It didn't fit. Can we have our money back? Because they're going to go, French for fuck off.
And we funded, Lille are currently top of Ligue 1. So we basically funded Lille rebuilding their entire squad and building a title challenge in a league where apparently only one club wins it. Funny that. The bigger question about...
With the money we gave them, they bought a really good player who then took over from Pepe.
They bought 5 big players. They bought 5 big players.
Then they flogged him to Italy and then used that money and reinvested it into more good players.
And bought another 4 good players,
like Arsenal used to do.
Yeah, but this is what concerns me. Like, we get the same old argument time after time. Oh, you can't blame Arteta. Look at what's going on above him. But you can blame for what happens on the pitch. Whether the players, like Raj said earlier on, like we both said, that squad is not a bad squad.
It's good squad. You've got goals in it. I mean, how many Premier League sides would kill to have the likes of Aubameyang and Lacazette in their side, plus with all the young kids?
But there's no leadership as well. This is what the 2 big questions I'd have been asking about the Aubameyang deal. I wasn't against it. I'm still not. You keep your best players. I'm
glad he signed.
Yeah, I'm not against the idea, and I still think he'll get through this funk because he's a good centre forward and he'll come through this. But what concerns me with Aubameyang, and I said this when we signed him, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, he's a character that thrives when things are going well. He's a guy that works when he's happy. And my slight concern with it, the big concern I guess I had when he did sign was, I was happy and everything, but like you said, he was touted. He was very keen on Barcelona. Maybe it was actually him that looked at it and went, do you know what? Actually, this is kind of the easier gig. This is the easier money, and I'm not questioning his ambition or his desire to play for the club. I'm sure he does love the club. I'm sure he's quite happy. But it was an easier option, wasn't it? The harder option would have been to go to Barcelona, who are in a mess themselves, and rebuild their forward line. Yeah, and play second fiddle to Messi. Whereas at Arsenal, it's pretty cushy. It is pretty cushy. The same reason Ozil went, you're not going to play me at the sport I got basically my career from. Oh, well, never mind. My mates are still here. I can still train. I'm in good shape. Lovely wife, lovely house, lovely family. It's all good. No worries. Because there's no reason to move because everything's very comfortable. And that would be one thing I would question. And the other thing I would have questioned as well, and I will 100% stand by this, I'd have said to him, we'll give you your new deal. That's fine. 350 grand, no worries. But the one thing that doesn't carry on is that captaincy. You did a great job for us, and I appreciate it. And thank you very much for leading the team as a senior pro. But no. That's no. you're a striker, you're a centre forward. Your job is get goals. I don't want you to have all this other burden on top of you. You know, you can be a dressing room leader without a captain's armband. We need a proper focal point. You mentioned John Terry. As much of a shithouse as he was, is one of the best captains of an English Premier League team I've ever seen, because he led by example. Steven Gerrard, another one. You know, Adams probably a bit before the Premier League days. But you need, if you look at all of the big clubs, they've all got a proper captain. We don't. And that's kind of symptomatic of everything about where we are right now. Harry Kane, you know my thoughts, but he's a captain. His team talks are probably quite hard to understand, but he's a captain, you know, and he lives and bleeds that club since he started supporting it after not supporting us, maybe. But you know, you need, and that would have been where I'd have put my investment. I would have gone in and said, right, we need to go out and sign a captain. You could have made Thomas Partey captain. He'd have given you more leadership than what we're getting at the moment. Whereas Alba at the moment, to me, just looks like a guy who's going, well, I don't know what to do. I've tried everything.
Drew said that when he left Dortmund were having a bad run, and he said, you don't want this bloke as your captain when things aren't going right.
Went missing.
Drew's right again.
Went missing. You know, and again, that's not to say we're not grateful. That's not to deny the fact that he basically carried us for 6 months. He did.
Still one of our best players in the last decade, easily.
Yeah. But you can't rest on your laurels. Big clubs evolve. Big clubs move on. You know, Liverpool had the best front three of anybody last season. What did they do in the summer? Went out and bought Diego Jota. What's happening now? Firmino's out of form. They bring in Jota. You know, Van Dijk's injured for a season. What will they do in January? Probably go and buy an experienced. If only. You know, it's just.
Raj, we need someone. We need someone, whether it's Arteta or whoever else, to make use of this squad, because the days of buying a £72 million Pepe are over for the time being. Because our
how long will it be before we break that record? Never.
It will be a while, because I mean, you know, the projected income for just match day revenue for this season is a fifth of what it was 3 years ago. So they're projecting £20 million of match day income, and that was a projection which I think they've got wrong now. Because I'm not blaming them for getting it wrong, because we don't know how bad COVID was going to get or get worse and stuff like that. And obviously we're now in tier 3, so that means the stadium's closed down again. But at the end of the 2019 season, our match day income was 96 million, and the projection for this year is 20 million. We're going to have an overall drop of about 70 million pounds in overall income, and recording a loss of around 85 million pounds for the season. And yet, if you look at the bloody wages, they've only gone down by 20 million over 3 years. So 235 million in 2019 and 212 for this year. So they haven't actually dropped players' wages down to make up for the deficit in income. So, you know, you would hope that the contract negotiations, any future contract negotiations, will be quite tough. And the players asking for £350,000 a week won't get it. And I wouldn't be surprised if you get, you know, Kroenke decides to sell Aubameyang just to try and get rid of his wage and get some money back in the club, because it's looking, as I said, it's not just Arsenal, it's everyone. But it's looking a bit bleak for the next year or two. And you've got to bear that in mind. So the quality we have, we've got 300 million quid plus worth of players in our squad. Someone's got to make that squad work, because we may not have the opportunity to bring in even better players and stuff. And next summer could be a bleak for a lot of clubs, including us.
Would you chuck the kids in, Raj? If you look at the game to Southampton tomorrow,
I said to my friend the other day, I said I'd be a lot happier if we were just testing the kids now.
Yeah,
you know, just throw the kids in, and you're quite right. They've done such a good job in the UEFA Cup, the whatever you call it now,
Europa League. Yeah,
Europa League. Why not give them a go? Because basically we've lost 4 home games for the first time since 1959. Yeah. So you know, there's nothing to lose now by giving them a go. You know, why not? I'd be a lot happier if we were losing, but these kids were running around the park and. Yeah, and these kids will play without any fear. Yeah, because they're not used to this pressure, so they'll just play like kids do.
That's my other concern. That's my other concern, though. Why is it that in the Europa League, these players are being given the freedom and the license? Do you think it's because Arteta is actually looking at the opposition and going, well, they're not all that, so I don't have to be quite as rigid with my system? Because it's the same manager in the dugout for both games. It's not like we give it to the assistant coach for a game. It's the same manager. And we're seeing...
He probably doesn't value the Europa League as much as he values the Premier League. And when he looks like he's a type of person that when he values something, gets a lot more cautious and a lot more rigid and starts stressing about it. When really we're coming to the point now that it's not working, everyone should just relax and play shit or bust football. I'd love it if we play shit or bust football for the rest of the season.
Same.
Just go for it and see what happens. Throw the kids in.
Ozzy Ardiles at Spurs.
Yeah.
But what's going to happen next as well? If we don't start giving these kids chances, we're going to lose Bellerin. It'll be the next thing that will happen. We're going to
prospect.
There was a really interesting interview with Jeff Rain Adelaide in the French press today, and he was talking about his time with Arsenal. And how he loved London and how he'd love to come back one day, and it sparked the conversation with the interview. And they said, what was your time like? And he said, I had a lot of respect, and Arsene Wenger did this, and we brought this, and he kept saying about the style of play and how it gave him a real grounding in his career. And once he moved on, he moved back to France, but it gave him that mindset of what it was like to be at a big club and represent a big club, and knowing that he probably didn't take the chances he was given, and he felt that he left Arsenal too soon. And it kind of got me thinking, like, how many players that we sort of let go thinking they weren't going to make it would we have back in that team now? You could have a front three of Adelaide, Serge Gnabry, and another, just name any other player. But I do that's the next concern. If Bellerin looks at this and goes, well, look, I've come into the Europa League side. I've been really patient when I wasn't even being allowed to train with the first team. I'm now still being patient when I'm getting the odd 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. He's technically too good to be a reserve team player for too long. He's at the level Martinelli was at when he broke through. He's at the level Saka was at when he broke through. We need to be really careful about how we're managing this squad now, and the careers we're managing. Why did we keep Ainsley Maitland-Niles? What was the point? We needed, an extra 5 to 10 million to sign Husam. Well, we got offered 20 million for Ainsley Maitland-Niles, and we said, nah. Well, why? Why did we keep him? We were offered a loan fee for Mustafi. Why did we keep him? We left out Ozil because we wanted to have Pablo Mari in the Premier League, or that was the story, or because we wanted to give Pablo Mari that spot. Well, I think he's a perfectly good defender, but he's not going to play this side of Christmas. He's only just come back from injury. Why? It's just there's so many decisions that are just baffling, and if we start losing young talent now as well, it really is off a cliff then, because then
we're running out of money to buy new ones.
No, and why not coach? This is always my argument. Everyone says, we've got to give him the window and we've got to give him time. I do get that, because some of his signings were good. Gabriel was an excellent signing, but how it shouldn't always be about a football manager style. Why not actually coach these players? Again, to mention Mourinho, he went out and got Gareth Bale. The chimp barely gets a minute because he doesn't need him. He got him, but he doesn't need him. He doesn't play him.
Why did they get him?
Well, have a bit of commercial element, I would suspect. But
t-shirts.
Yeah, and what did Mourinho do in the summer? He knew that he needed a left back and a shithouse of a midfielder. And he went and he bought Pierre-Emile Højbjerg from Southampton, who everyone went for, whatever. And now look at him. Dominates their midfield. He went and bought Sergio Reguilon, who Man United ummed about for several weeks before deciding no. And now he's one of the best left-backs in the league. I hate saying that. I absolutely hate saying it. But he identified 2 areas and he went and signed them. And now look at them. Are they going to win the league? No, because it's Spurs and we all know what will happen. But you get my point. Why not actually manage the team and rather than trying to repair, 50 different spots, why not go back to what worked when Arteta first came in? He made us strong. He made us hard to beat, compact, decent defensively, and then start to put things into place. But there is absolutely no point in signing a creative midfield player in January, in August, whenever, if you're going to play the way we're playing. Imagine a creative midfielder with our crosses.
We get neck strain.
just go and buy Chris Wood. If you're going to play that way, just see what John Artson's doing. There's no point. There's absolutely no point. And how do you sell that project to a player? Yeah, we want to bring you on to be our creative force. Okay, where do you see me playing? Well, probably left wing, so you can ping some crosses in for Hector Bellerin. Yeah, I'm going to stay here, thanks. Yeah.
Raj, do you think if we do lose the next few games, which I can't see us doing, and we do get a new manager in, what do you think the first thing that, say the new manager starts on January the 1st, when you can re-register whoever you want, what's the first few things the new manager is going to do at Arsenal?
I think the first thing that a new manager would probably do is to put Ozil back in the squad.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what's gone on between Arteta and Ozil. I'm not a big Ozil fan myself anyway, to be quite honest. But we're getting to that point now that it's the way some of our players are playing that it's probably worth putting him back in the squad just for the creativity that we are missing, But I mean, a new manager, I don't think he'll have too much to do. He would be able to do too much in January, because I don't think, unless he starts selling players in January and then uses that money to buy players, I don't think he's going to be able to do too much. But you'd think that the new manager would have a bit more of a backbone and actually set that squad straight and actually put down some ground rules on how to operate. The big thing he would do is bring back Ozil back in.
Do you think he'll be allowed to, Raj? Do you think there's anything in this whole the club stopped him from registering him? Do you think there's more in it, or do you think it is generally Arteta?
I wish I knew what the reality was, But
yeah,
at the moment we've spent an hour speculating. No one knows what's going on.
It's not just. It won't be bringing Ozil back in because of the great player that he is. That I don't think a manager would do that. They maybe bring in hope that. I mean, he's only just gone 32, so I think that still means he's 31. And so what you're going to do? You bring Ozil back in. I mean, that player, I've said it so many times, Ozil, in the way that he plays, he could boss that midfield for another 4 seasons at Arsenal, to stand there in that half, pinging the balls around, getting assists, making everybody look good. That's what he does. And he could do that till he's 36. We've seen it with the players like Lothar Matthäus and Hullet and these other players. The older they get, they just drift a little bit further back, do a little bit less work. I mean, he's done fuck all since he was 30.
No new manager will exclude Ozil from the squad.
I agree. It's a great PR move as well, isn't it? If you're a new manager, what's the first thing you do? I'll bring back the guy that, none of us think that he's the answer, do we? Like none of us are sat here saying, he is the
game one. He's going to turn around.
Exactly. But he would at least give us something different.
Yeah.
Like something that
creativity.
And vision. None of our I can't, even the young players. I can't think of any. I just can't think of any of our squad that really offer that properly creative license. So, but yeah, I agree. If there's nothing, if it's purely about football, then I can't believe we're already saying it. But
this is so depressing.
Because we were all sat here 6 months ago saying Ozil's not the answer. Get him out. He's a fraud. He's this. He's that.
Can you bring me back in the podcast when we've won 3 in a row or something?
Yeah, see you in 2025 then. Your cat looks very happy, Raj.
It might be a while.
So the question is, Ozil, you're going to bring Ozil back in, not necessarily for on the field to solve anything on the field, just general harmony of the club. But then Ozil isn't going to sign a new contract. I won't be surprised if at the end of his contract he does retire. But that's the first thing the manager's going to do is probably re-register him, let him play, and then turn things around. But then ask yourself a question, people. We're not down on Arteta. We're just maybe saying that he's a bit naive in the way that he does things. Arteta leaves Arsenal January. Who offers Arteta a job? Where's his next job in management? Sure as fuck isn't going to be a Premier League team. It's not going to be a big team anywhere in the world, is it? He may get a mid-table team in Spain.
He goes back to being a coach.
He goes back to being a coach, or he manages a team where he's in his comfort zone.
Mm.
He's not in his comfort zone at the moment. I like the guy. I just keep saying over and over and over again, but he's just not qualified to do this job.
And he's not helping himself. That's the worry.
It looks like there's no one in his immediate management circle that's giving him a kick up the arse and saying you're doing this wrong.
Haven't they? He got rid of them all.
No accountability. Yeah, there's no
And the
account.
people he brought in are his own people.
So who does he report to? I mean, I know he reports to the board ultimately, but they don't care.
So Edu's his best mate, isn't he? I mean, and people say that he's made some good choices and that, and yes, he has. And people are saying, oh, it's the board's fault. But he was the one that sanctioned a 3-year deal for Willian. That was the player he wanted. He wanted that player.
Again, Kris, Twitter, Chelsea fans told us, don't fucking buy Willian. You don't want him.
He's not a bad player, though, Danny. He's not a bad player. That's the thing. But it's almost like the minute they come to Arsenal, we've had so many Chelsea, fishing around the bins for ex-Chelsea players. I don't even know whether we might as well just play in blue next season. He's not a bad player. Well, he's not a bad footballer, but you can't. He proved the opening day of the season. We're all sat here going, bloody hell, 3 assists. He looks quality.
What position did he play then compared to where he plays now?
He plays in the 10. And again, we went to Fulham, albeit they were a shambles, but we played an attacking, offensive style of football. We took the game to them and we blew them away in 25 minutes. And I can't remember the last time we did that. And I was go back all the way back to the start of the podcast. Yes, we've improved our record against the bigger clubs. But how did we do that? By basically parking the bus and shithousing our way through the games. We haven't gone to Anfield and turned Liverpool over. We haven't gone to Man City at home. Exactly. And this, oh God, it makes my head hurt. Burnley at home. Aston Villa, 3-0
we haven't won at Arsenal since the Battle of Hastings.
Oh God, Leeds away. Like Leeds were upset that they took a point from Arsenal. The last time Leeds were relevant, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank got the winner against us. That's the last time they were even relevant in our society as Arsenal fans. And they came and played us off our own pitch in the FA Cup and were unlucky to win. And less than a year later, their fans were upset that they didn't beat us. And but for one of those few games where Bernd Leno could actually catch a ball, we would have been beaten 3-0 up there as well. Southampton must be sitting there going, fucking hell, lads, this is going to be fun.
We'll probably beat Southampton then. That's the way we play.
We probably will.
And all will be well on social media.
Theo's going to score.
But it won't be, will it? And that's a really important thing to make. I mean, I don't know how much more we want to do, but that's a really good, important way to sum this up. I'm not saying I'm going to sit here and be miserable if we win. Of course I'm not. That even if we win 2 or 3 of our next 4, all is not solved. There's a lot to do here. There's a lot of questions to answer, and our squad is in my opinion far better than where it is in the Premier League. When I don't think we're a top 6 club right now, but we're certainly not a 15th in the table club.
I said top 4 at the beginning of the season.
I did. I wanted so badly to get behind. Well, I'm not. It's not that I'm not behind the manager. And some people will listen to this and go, "Oh, fucking hell, he's changed. He was the same guy who defended Arsene Wenger." Yeah, I was, because Arsene earned that respect over the years, and he deserved to go out on his own terms, and he deserved to be given the time and the respect that some people were just not willing to give him. And I'm not saying Arteta doesn't deserve respect. He does. But as Raj said at the very start, he's not experienced and he's learning on the job. The biggest club in London, and he's learning on the job. You can't be
learning on the job at most Premier League clubs.
Let alone one of our size.
How many players have come in
clubs these days?
How many players have come in at Premiership level as their first ever job? I think you can... Shearer did it at Newcastle, got them relegated.
That went well.
Scotty Parker did it at Fulham, got them relegated. Who else?
Where did Giggs manage before Man United?
No one. No,
that's a good point, yeah.
He did very little there.
That didn't work out very well either, did it?
Yeah, I can't think of any others where
Souness went to Rangers, didn't he, first?
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah, he did. He managed there. But that's another millennium ago. But do you feel that every time we have a loss, we're getting closer to the point where this is going to get fixed? Or do you think every time we have a win, it's getting closer to the point where we're going to get fixed?
We are miles away from fixing our current problems.
Yeah.
And we are a decade away from being what we want to be.
What I mean by loss is the manager going. So every time we lose, we're getting closer to getting rid of Arteta.
Yeah,
rather than every time we win, the whole.
It's a shame. It's a shame.
Yeah,
but as I say, it'll be down to the board, and it'll be when they bottle it.
Yeah, he ain't walking away. Why
We're
would
a bit too close to the bottom for us to keep this going.
Yeah, he's not going to walk away, and he shouldn't. Why should he? You know, he was given the keys to the castle. You know, we basically opened our living rooms to him and said, you know, come in and father my children. I mean, he was the great shining light. I fully hold my hands up. I fell for it too. You know, I looked at it and I probably got carried away with the FA Cup win and everything. And you know, if we hadn't have had
why do you think he was a shining light when he first joined the club? What was it that thought
something different? It was something different, wasn't it?
Were you so fed up with Emery that you thought, here we go, this is it, he's the one?
I wasn't. Because I genuinely thought Emery actually was I still think he's a very decent manager. But the problem he had was that as long as he was the minute he got ridiculed about the good evening, he was done. The minute the press and everybody else identified that he essentially was, I mean, one of the players took the piss out of him, didn't they? That was it. He was done. He was limp then. But it's no coincidence he's gone back to Spain and he's got Villarreal in the top four.
And he's just had 4 draws in a row there playing.
I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be, you know.
They've only lost 1 all season.
Exactly, and this is why the worry for me is Tuchel, because PSG are not going to renew his new contract, and he's got Arsenal written all over him.
Is he a strong manager though? Is he a strong individual? No. That's the problem, isn't it? Then
exactly, and then that's what worries me. You know, he's a good coach. Don't get me wrong, and you know, he was very, very good before he got the PSG job. You know, a good spell at Dortmund, but he's another guy that Mbappe and Neymar run that dressing room. You know,
so what managers are out there which has got who are very, very strong and who can really? Sorry.
Allegri, I guess, is the one that...
Imagine. He's not going to come, is he? The amount of money he'd want, everyone would have to leave.
Do you know what? I think he probably would, actually.
What's he waiting for, though? Man United, Real Madrid, PSG?
I think he just wanted some time away from the game. I'm not saying he would crawl over broken glass to be here, but I think people forget how big a draw Arsenal as a club is. But there is still an awful amount of draw for a club of our stature in London. In the Premier League, there's a lot of big managers that would come. Would you have ever imagined Jose Mourinho managing Spurs?
No.
But what happened? You know, the one time that Daniel Levy, borrowed a lot of money from the public and paid for it. But you know, the one time that he finally admitted things were wrong, and this is, I do have to make this point. This is what worries me about all these people that are now falling at the feet of Pochettino. This is a guy who ultimately couldn't turn Spurs around the minute things went sour. What makes you think that he'll come in and change? Yeah, he's great with young players, blah, 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 blah. When things went wrong for Spurs, he couldn't change it. No plan B. And let's just remind ourselves again, won fuck all and bottled the final. So, you know...
I think he's waiting for United anyway. I think he's just waiting for... what's his name to get sacked? Solskjaer to get sacked, and he'll be on his way to United.
Yeah, I agree.
In the next few weeks, probably.
I agree, and I think we, if we had a decision to make, and you know, whatever that may be, I think we probably would. I think we'd probably have to go for a firefighter. We'd have to go with somebody to the end of the season and sort of ride it out a bit. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they just chucked it at Steve Bold or someone of, you know, with the coaching setup now.
He's having a horrendous time with the under-23s. I mean, most of the decent players are playing for the first team or involved for Europa League, and we'll see now the Europa League has been stopped. Has stopped until February, March, whatever time it is. Then we'll see now that he has those players back if he can turn it around. But Steve Bold's not a manager. He's not a decent manager there. You wouldn't tell him to his face.
I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying he's right. I'm just saying that I wouldn't be surprised if they just because again, it's the cheap option, isn't it? It's the easy option. It's we didn't realise things wouldn't go so well for Arteta, so give us some time to find the right coach. I mean, Christ, how that board are going to if they don't back Arteta? I mean, can you?
We say board. We do know that it's the Cronkies, but in football we always say the board because some people go, well, it's not a board. I mean, there's not a board. They don't vote, but we know what we mean.
Yeah. Jeff Arson was right then. 3 managers in 2 years and more to come.
He was.
He predicted that years ago. I said that in the last podcast.
He did. And maybe we all just got carried away. You know, look at what's happened at Man United. These things take time. When you've got a manager like Ferguson or we had in Wenger, it doesn't happen overnight.
Hell of a legacy.
Klopp took 4 years to build Liverpool. You know, and is already showing the strain. Having won that title, he's now showing the strain of carrying it on. It's not easy.
The big thing with Klopp was that the board backed him for 4 years as well.
Yeah,
even when he had a dodgy season and stuff like that, they knew what they got in with him, and they really backed him. And you know, the dividends are there.
And maybe we have to.
But I don't think Arteta in 4 years' time will be winning the Champions League.
No.
Not with Barney, we won't.
No.
So before we go,
what a lovely podcast that was, anyway.
How uplifting that was for your Tuesday evening.
Merry Christmas, listeners.
Have a lovely time if you're watching the Southampton game tomorrow.
I know. We're supposed to keep everyone cheerful. You know, we're all suffering from mental fatigue from COVID, and you know the stresses of work. You know, work or no work and stuff like that. And we've just presented an hour and a half of utter misery to everyone. So, Danny, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
You name this podcast the one with the link to Ferrero Rocher, please.
You should put the link up, actually. Give the link up to everyone. I think we've got to give something to the listeners, something positive.
Yeah.
So put the Ferrero Rocher link up on the Bergkamp Wonderland announcement or whatever.
I've not named
give them
it
something. Trust me, I've got 84 chocolates to eat now, so I'm ready to go.
The last thing we talk about, a couple of minutes, is if you had to give Arteta a few bits of advice, 2 or 3 things, and he had to do them, or 2 or 3 things that we have to do to turn the club around, Raj, and then Kris, and then I'll do a quick one. What would you say? But they have to do it.
Relax and don't be afraid of change.
And mine would be
put the kids in. Put the kids in, mate.
Lots of free transfers, I'd say. Get rid of them. They're going anyway. Whether Ozil he's going in the summer, and you're not playing him to the summer, so why not give him all of his wages and get rid of him? Although I'd like him to come back and do the magic that he can do, but you need to get rid of him. Kolasinac and Mustafi and Kolasinac isn't running out, is it? It's Socrates. All those players, you're not going to play him. You've got to pay him. Fuck them off out the door. Maybe that'll help turn the dressing room. Kris?
I'm with Raj. Just relax. Stop micromanaging everything. Trust that your players can do essentially not so much your instruction, but just trust the players. Give them some creative license.
Stop crossing.
There you go.
Yeah, should be cross less.
Yeah, should be cross less.
There you go. That's the name of the show. Should be cross less.
Just for God's sake, stop being so bloody uptight and try and bring some joy back. You know, we all say trust the process. Well, let you've had 8 months. Let the players express themselves a bit. If we play good football tomorrow night and lose 4-3, so be it. You know, but if we go out and limp our way to another 2-1, 2-0 home defeat, you know, with David Luiz up front and Martinelli in goal, I can't be bothered. It's not fun.
Wasn't it one of you two that said at the start of the show, football is meant to do something that we do to relax, to something to be enjoyable, and it's not.
It's supposed to be an escape. No, it's supposed to be an escape and an enjoyment, and yet here we are, as Raj said, sitting on here, all providing basically counselling. You know, there's bigger things going on in the world. I should always stress that point, but Christ, it'd be nice to just enjoy our football a bit, you know. And what a missed opportunity as well this season. There's so many teams beating everybody else.
It is. It's a miss.
But it's not too late. You know, we can still win the Europa League if we turn this around. And, you know, Arteta maybe he can turn this around. But as Raj said, we can't hemorrhage more defeats. If I think he's got 2 more defeats in him. I don't mean like, you know, we could win 20 and lose 2. I mean, if he loses another 2 in the next 3 or 4, I don't think the board can. I think they've got an easy get out of jail free card to pass because the fans are turned now. I think it'd be quite easy for the board to get away with this again and say, look, you know, we backed him, we promoted him, we tried. It's just not working, unfortunately. You know, we've got to make a change. I don't think the fans would be against it.
Right, Raj, any words of wisdom for your flock before we go?
No, I hope they all have a very nice Christmas, and I wish them all a very happy 2021. let's get 2020 out of the way because it's been disgusting. And hope they keep listening to these podcasts because we're just doing it for a bit of fun, but hopefully they enjoy it, even tonight's one. So, my best wishes to everyone out there.
Oh, very good. That's from Raj, and he's Giroud the Llama. How is Giroud the Llama?
He's all right, actually, yeah.
Good. Kris, any final words?
No, I'll just echo what Raj said. I'm sure we'll pod again before Christmas, but it is only, a week and a bit away, which is mental, really.
Yeah, week Friday.
And take your vaccines.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Don't buy into all the bullshit, take your vaccines. But, just hopefully everybody's safe and well. And just to repeat again, we're not doing the old, certain other channels. He's a fraud. He's this. He's that. Oh, punch his lights. It's none of that. It's a respectful way of saying we're not particularly enjoying ourselves right now, and things need to change. And I hope things change in the right way for everybody's sake, because what we're having to endure at the moment in terms of our hobby is quite miserable. So
we hope he changes and not the board making a change. Put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's not too late to change your ways.
It's not too late
because we have all the ingredients for a magnificent team. We've seen it last season. It's still all there. In fact, if it's still all there, plus Gabriel, there's enough there to make a damn fine meal for everybody to get tuck in and love it.
One of the shining lights, by the way, Gabriel. And where did he come from? That's right, you guys. France.
Oh dear.
He didn't actually come from Brazil, but you know what I mean. I had to get it in somewhere, didn't I?
I did indeed. Where's my little? There you go, people. Little banner across the bottom of the screen. Kris is just defending the French players again. Right, hour and a half.
We wouldn't even win the Farmers League playing the way we are. Just saying.
Right, thank you very much, Raj.
Good to
Kris.
see you both.
You've both been wonderful.
Too. It's always a treat to see Kris. I don't see much of Kris these days. So
some would say that's a blessing, mate.
No. We've had our little rows over the years and stuff, but I've always backed you on some of the predictions that you've made, especially from the French league. I don't really appreciate the piss taking you get about the French league, to be honest, because I always listen to what you have to say about it. And more often than not, you're right. So I am one of your few supporters.
I appreciate it, mate. I can mix it. Being off Twitter is actually it's quite refreshing because I don't get as much stick. But yeah, I don't mind. I'll always have a debate with anyone.
Okie dokie. Right, dear viewers, listeners, and people doing neither, only 30% of the people who watch these on YouTube are actually subscribers. You other 70%, you're freeloading scumbags. You need to sort your fucking lives out. On Sunday, we actually had 20 people subscribe to the channel. That's more than we got for the rest of the month. That's fantastic. I mean, the rest of the month before that. So do us a little favour. If you like what you see, go and give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Give us a subscribe on YouTube. Go and find us on Twitch and go and give us a subscribe there. If you've got Twitch Prime and you want to give us that, it costs you nothing. If you don't use it, Jeff Bezos sticks it in the bin. So then just tweet me or the podcast and I'll help you go through it. It's really easy. And then, a thumbs up if you like it, a thumbs down if you don't. And we will see you tomorrow night after we get beaten 7-0 by Southampton. 9-2, 9-0. Was it Leicester beat them 9-0?
Oh, yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah, it was. 9-0. And comments. Do you use the comment section on YouTube? They're always we always reply to our comments. We never mention that, but we do always reply.
We do, yeah. Tell us what you think about the show and how we can fix how we can turn the Arsenal going around, how they can make Arsenal great again. Yeah, that'd be a long old list of demands. Right, that is the end of the podcast. Thank you very much, everybody, and we will see you tomorrow night after the Arsenal-Southampton game. Be lucky, treacle. Right, press end now.